This is Gemara Avodah Zarah, Daf Lamid Vav, and as we pick it up from Lamid Hey Amid Beis in the fourth wide line, as we continue discussing all the different Gzeiros Derabanan, we are up to Pas. We like all the learning to be an incredible schos refuah shalema for Gavriel, Simcha, ben Miriam, Ahuva, the Siyata Dishmaya, the incredible Koyach HaTorah should bring the ultimate schosim, and culminating in Mirza Hashem with the Refuah Shalema Gemura, B'Soich Sha'ar Chayle Yisrael. Says the Gemara, Ve'ha Pas. Amar Rav Kahana, Amar Rav Yechanan. Pas Lehot Rebbe Bezdin. Pas was not allowed in a Bezdin. Michlal Dika Mandashari. This sounds like someone holds it is allowed. Says Marin, yes, T'chiyasar Rav Dimi Amar, Pamachas Yotzer Rebbe L'Sadeh. Rebbe once went out to the field, Vehivi Akum, the fun of Pas Purni, Me'afasa, and a guy brought him a bread baked in a Purni oven, baked the size of a saw. And Amar Rebbe, Kamana Bazu, Maro Chachamim Leiser, why did the Chazal say it's Aser? Maro Chachamim, I don't understand, asks the Gemara back. Misham Chasanais. Maro Chacham Leiser Bisadeh. So Kisvurim, hit the Rebbe a pass. So the people felt and thought that what does Rebbe mean? What is the undertone of Rebbe's statement? That Avada, Rebbe saying pas is mutter. But says the Gemara V'lohi Rebbe lo hinter pas. So we see from here that there was a Hava Mina that pas was mutter. The Gemara says, not really. If Yosef V'timar of Shmuel Bar Yehuda Amar, look Achayim. No, the story was different. Ela Amru B'machas. They didn't have a lot of bread. Amar Rebbe Inkan Palter, there's no baker over here. So the people thought Lomar to say Palter Akum. He's referring to a baker who's a guy. But says Gemara Sachuv Lomar El Palter Yisrael. So two different svaros in which Rebbe might have been Makel. Rebbe might have been makel for pas, either basadeh in a matziv they didn't have pas, or what? Or when it was dachuk, there was not a lot of bread, and from a palter. Amar Rav Chalbay, afilu mandamar palter akum loya palter akum. Even according to Mandarim that says the Rebbe was being makel on a goyish palter, says the Gemara b'loya maran ella deleka palter Yisrael. This is a very important line because even though one could be maker adin on pas palter, bread baked by a bakery, all mizaynais bread products, all OU products, classical aksherim, unless noted otherwise, are pas palter, which we're seeing here has a makam kula maker adin. Says the Gemara, if there's a palter Yisrael, then the Mechaber at least is more machmer, the Ramaz are more makel, but we see that there is, of course, a higher level. For Rav Yechanan Amar, Afilam da Amar, Palter Akum, even according to Manda Amar that says the Palter was a guy, Hani Mili Basada, Avol Ba'ir Loi. That's only Basada, not in the city. Why? Misham Chasanais. Why? The reason is, as the full impetus of the decree was what? Was Bisham Chasanais. Says the Gemara story, Eva Havimenachas v'achol pas Ave Mitzra. Eva was biting and eating pas of a guy in the border of a field. Amarlu Rava v'Timra Nachor Yitzchak Loi Tishtau B'Had Evu. Do not speak with Evu. Why? Ka'achal Lachmaya Darmaya. He's eating Armenian bread. And this really is the ganze sugya of pas palter, was the last 12 lines. And now from here comes the massive achlekes Rishonim, how far the Gzeira was rescinded and when one could be makel, etc., etc. It continues the Gemara on the last line into the next Gzeira, which is Shemen. Shemen Shalem says Gemara Shemen, Rav Daniel Gazer Alav, Ushmol Amar, is the lifted Shalkelim Tameim Asarta. So the first sheet says it was a Gzeira made by Daniel. And as we move over to Avav and Aleph, says the Gemara, no, it's the Lifasa Shalkelim, the emissions that are coming out of the kelim that cause these oils to be usr. So says the Gemara, let's understand what is this isser of shemen. So on the second reason, ask the Gemara, Tukuli Alma, Achlu Tyrus, they know. I don't understand. Does everyone only eat tar food that you're telling me that there's tumah here? And that's something we have to be concerned. Says no, that's how we meant. El Zlifasa shall kill asurim. Oisartem. Isra flavors will answer the shemen. Amalei Shmuel Rav Bishop Lidid. I mean, it's the fossil kilim asur nesartem. That I understand. Says the Gemara. Hainu dechias Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marsav Amar Darish Darish Rav Simlai ben Etziven Rav Simlai Darshan Etziven Shemen Rav Yehuda Beis Timnai Nimla Ve'Tirua. And then Rav Yehuda Beis Timnai came along, and they were a makel. Why? Because Kasavar Nesitam Levkam is mutter. So if the whole reason is als the tam, then says the Gemara, we have a reason why someone could come along and be makel, because of not to lab Nesitam Levkam. Didach, but asking where, but according to you, Daniel Gazer, I love that it was a gzira made by Daniel. So ask the Gemara, Daniel Gazer, how could Rav Yehuda Nasi be makel, be mavatel, a gzira made so many years earlier from Daniel? And the halachic issue is, explains the Gemara 7 line from the bottom, one bezin is not able to mavatel the words of another, elim kain, unless they're greater in chachma and in minyan. So how could it be, according to the Talmud, that Daniel was geyser, that you could be mekel? Amar lei simlai ludai kamrit. Are you telling me the view of simlai, the Ludian? And as the top Rashi says, mizalzalei b'midi derabanan. Shiny ludai de mizalzalei. They are mizalzal b'midi derabanan, and that's the reason why you could not bring a raya from them. Amar lei ashach lei. Shai center of Simlai, what you said, Ichsif. So Rav was embarrassed. Amar Rav, Imheim loy darshu, anan loy darshinan. Even if they did not darshin, then should we do it ourselves? V'haksiv, what the pasuk says, V'yasim Daniel Aliva Yishaloyis Gael B'pas Melech U'B'Yein Mishtaf. Daniel said his heart that he would not be defiled by the king's bread nor the wine of his drinks. Says Bag B'Pas Bag Hamelech. The first line explains the Gemara, U'B'Yayin Mishtaf. B'Shtei Mishtaf is like Hasam Medaber. The pasuk is referring to 2 drinks, Echad Mishteh Yayin, Ve'echad Mishteh Shemen. So what do we see? We see that Daniel and Dean made a gzera, both against the Yayin we knew of the gzera, but Daniel extends it to Shemen. Explains the Gemara, Rav Savar al Liboy. Some Rav holds, says the Gemara, al Liboy some. Daniel said in his heart, like the pasuk Klal Yisrael Hayra, and they paskin this for Klal Yisrael. But Shmuel Savar, no, al Liboy sham, but Klal Yisrael Hayra. Almost like a machshava, almost like a havamina, but he never made it into a formal decree. Says the Gemara of Hashem Daniel Gazar. V'amar Bali Avimi Noita. But Bali says the name of Avimi Noita, who said Mishmei the Rav on the 4th white line. Peter and Mishmanan Yeinam B'Naisei and Kula Mishmaina Asar Davar Heim. The bread, the shemen. The bread, the shemen, Yeina, the oil, B'Naisei and their daughters were all part of the 18 decrees. So we see that Rav himself says that the Gzeira on Shemen was made by Talmidei Hillel V'Shamai, part of the Shemena Asar Davar, which was quite a time after Daniel. And if you're going to tell me in the 5th white line, also Daniel Gazer V'Likibel, Daniel made a Gzeira. No one listened to the Gzeira. Then also tell me the Hillel V'Shamai, who got the V'Kibel. But if that's true, Imkein Maya Sadusa, Rav, if this is the reality, then what does it mean that Rav gave Eidos? What, Rav is just talking back about something that made of his man Hillel? Elos explains the Gemara. I'll tell you what happened. Daniel Gazer love beer. Fas inova Gazer I feel a bit sadeh. Rav Yehuda Nasi Echim Matzil the mission to Katel Tamidei Sham Hillel. Says the Gemara, 1 second. So then how could it, if this is true, this is the Gzeira all the way back from Hillel V'Shamai, How could it be that Rav Yehuda Anasi come and be mekel? V'atanan, a similar kasha we had a moment ago in Bezin Achlavalta v'Bezin Chaver King Godly Menu v'Chachmo b'Minyan. V'Oid, question number 2. Amar Rabbi Rachanan Rav Yichla v'Chol Yachol Levatel Bezdin Divrei Bezin Chaveroi. You're allowed to be mevatel the words of a prior bezin aside for chutz mishmayna aser davar. Those 18 shafilu yavay Eliyahu, even Eliyahu Hanavi hu beis dinoi ein shaymin loi. So how in the world can we fathom that he was being mekel on such a thing? Amar Mesharsha matam. So explains Rav Mesharsha, let me tell you what's going on over here. What is the reason that the Shemayin Aser Davar, that Hel V'Shamei Rekaiser, what is the reason that we're saying that they can't be rescinded? Hayelu Pashad Yisurai B'Rav Yisrael. It's not because of the Bezdin. It's because once a Gezerah, once a decree goes so weit and is so mikubal and accepted amongst Klal Yisrael, then that cannot be rescinded. It says the Gemara, Shemen, the Gzera of Shemen, Loi Pashad Yisurai B'Roiv Yisrael. Dam Rav Shmuel Rabbi Rav Yechon Yeshu Rabbi Seinu Badku Al Shemen Shal Pashad Yisurai B'Roiv Yisrael. They found that it was not, the decree did not take hold. Some Rabbi Seinu Divi Rashbag, Val Divi Rav Lez Rav Sadi Shayimrim. Ein Goyz Min Gzera Is Alatzim Lakin Rav Sibri Yecholin Lamid Ba. And therefore, once we found that Rav Sibri were not able to stand by it, the decree loses its ultimate taikif. Tamar Avodah Zarah, my Kara, what is the pasuk as we turn over to Lamed Vavam Ebei? Says the Gemara, what is the pasuk that says B'ma'ara atem na'arim v'oisi atem kaivim agai kuloi? With a curse, you're cursed, yet do you steal from me the entire nation? Says the Gemara, Ik agai kuloi in Eloi loy. That the only way that we can have a gzeira proper is if it's a goy kulai, but not if it's something that cannot be held by Gans Klal Yisrael. So Gufa says the Gemara, let's go a little bit deeper into a statement we just made a few moments ago in Amar Aleph. Amar Bali, Amar Avimi Naita, Mishmei Derav, Peter Shmani Yenim, Benaisein Kulish Manasar Davar, Hein. Says the Gemara, Benaisein Mai, what was the gzeira of their daughters? Amar Nachman, here's a Garzo of Benaisein, Nidais Marisasan. They made a gzeira that their daughters have the status of a nida even when they are barisasan. This is talking about a guy that even though she doesn't actually have her period yet, sham will make gzeira that kayim are considered to be a nida from the moment they are born, even barisasan, even without any actual flow, even prior to menstruation. We can even mishmei the Rav Amar kulan misham akum gazer behem. All because of Goyim. The Chiyasar of Achabaradam reveals a Gazer Alpita, Misham Shmanam. They made exir on the bread because of their oil. My Omei Deshemi Pas. What is that? The bread is because of the oil. So why is oil? What's the chumrah of oil over bread? Ella says Gemara, no, it means Alpita Nushmanam, Misham Yenam. Val Yenam, Misham Ben Isayim. Val Ben Isayim, Misham Davar Acher. Val Davar Acher, Misham Davar Acher. So we have a long list of one off of the next. So says the Gemara, let's go. Let's understand each step over here. Before we get there, frak the Gemara, ben Isayim, daraisi. Din on their daughters is a din daraisi. We think right now that ben Isayim doesn't mean that they become a nida, but rather refers to etzem iser of being with a guy. Says the Gemara, says chatim bam. You cannot marry them. Answers the Gemara, De'araisa zayin umais. Aval shar akum loy. Asenu v'gazer afilu d'shar akum. Well, the Rashbi Damar frak the Gemara Kiyasers bin chamei acharai. You'll turn your sons away from me. The rabbis, that also comes to include kol hamasiros, anyone that pulls away from Hashem, Michael and Meimar. So according to Rashbi, clearly to marry a guy is usher at any level. Ella says the Gemara Daraisa Derech Ishos. What is usher with a guy? His relations via excuse me. Ishos derech chasanois v'asa inu gazer afilu derech znos is aser. Says the Gemara, znos nami bezdin al shel shem gazru. No, znos was all the way back from the times of Shein ben shel Noyach. Techsev vayom Yehuda yisi of Tisraf. And Yehuda says, take her, let her be burnt. The story of Tamar. So what do we see? We see that many years prior, Znos was aser. Says the Gemara, you're right. If a guy is with a Yiddish girl, Dimashcha Basrei, will worry that she'll be drawn after his Avodah Zarah. That's the rice. Aval Yisrael, Baal Avodah Chavim, let's say a man who sleeps with a non-Jewish woman. Midaraisa law, he is not a problem. V'aseinu, and the Rabbanim came along in Gazru, Afilu al Yisrael, Baal Avodah Chavim. Says the Gemara, whoa. Yisrael Abal Avodah Chavim Alach L'Moshe Sinai. Damar Mar Habayal Aramis Kanayim Boygim Boy. We know that if someone's to go with the Aramis, you'll have to kill them. Kanayim take matters in their own hands. Says the Gemara, no. Amarli Daraisa is only but for Hesia Ukemaisa Shahaya. That only if there's a Maisa is not but for Hesia. Vasinu Gazru, I feel a bit sinna. Says but Sinna Nami. What's Bezdin Shachashmanai Gazru? Chazra Avdimi Amar Bezdin Shachashmanai Gazru. Yisrael Abala Avodah Chavim Chai Misham Nashga. They're Chai because of Nun Shimel Shin Gimel Aleph. And Rashi reminds us what this is. This is Nida, even though Gayim Ein Dama Mitamina Taira. Kosh is a din of a behema. So Chazal made a decree. Number 2 is Misham Shivcha. Number 3, Misham Avodah is Kechavim Kil Meschatim V'derech Ishas. Number 4 is Ishes Ish Tibu'ulas Baal Yishlan B'nei Noyach. So we see already there was such a decree on Ishes Ish. Says the Gemara in the first white line. I see that our highlighting froze. It'll come back to us in a moment. Ki also Ravin Amar Misham Nashkaz. Was in Nashka, brother Nashkaz. Rashi explains what's that. Nida Shivcha Avodah Chavim Zoina Shem Kainu Yishkan Misham Lav De Zoina. So says the Gemara. However, it's only a relations. Aval Yichod Lo Yichod was mutter. V'aseinu, that was the decree. Gazer Filu Al Yichod. Frag the Gemara, what do you mean? Yichanami Bezdin Shel David Gazer Dam Rav Yudah Ba'isa Shah Gazer Al Yichod. Amri Hasam Yichod Bas Yisrael. Aval Yichod Avodah Chavim Lai. Basinu Gazer Filu Al Yichod Avodah Chavim. Frag the Gemara, what? Yichod Bas Yisrael Daraisa. Dam Rav Yechon Mishim Mishim Nitzalig Remes the Yicham Anatay Reminayim. Shenam Kiyasis Rabani Mechav Chiben Eimesis. But Ben Avein Eimesis doesn't convince you to do anything wrong. Al Ben Misyachlim Mimai. Vein Acher Misyachlim Kol Arai Shabbat Torah. So what do we see? We see that Yichud as well as Aser Daraisa. Explains the Gemara, you're right. Yichud Daraisa Deishes Ish. Also David because I feel Yichud Dipenuya. And then V'asa Talmidei de Beishama Beisel because I feel Yichud Avodah Chavim. So finally we understand what the next level decree is. We'll stop over here. The next level is going to be Misham Davar Acher, and the list of why all the decrees are made pinned on each other. Pick it up from here, B'siyata Dishmaya.